saw something today and I just want to chat about it really quickly. You guys know I love my chair. I love getting cozy with you guys and talking shit. It's like my main thing now, so I will also put a link in the description box for some videos I think you should watch that are kind of they're not really similar, but I feel like they are critiquing what's happening. I saw one video that was, or I didn't watch the video, but I saw the title of the video, and it was basically like, it was called like old washed up Instagram girls are chasing after NBA players. Oh man, I thought that one was weird because like first of all, like we have to be serious. If you're part of like the LGBTQIA plus dash dash slash community, I'm just not talking to you. Like I don't make content for you. I'm so sorry. Like this is not your space of the internet. Also, if you're a person who's in any sort of like basically non-traditional like male female relationship, this is just not the channel for you. Like I understand that you have space and you exist, but I exist too. And just where I live in society, we don't occupy the same spaces. We don't have the same goals. um the reason that I created this personal space, like I am not some like holier than thou conservative, though I definitely used to be like a really extremist conservative in all the ways, and I feel like I've just lived long enough around other people to where like I still believe in a lot of like the tradition and values, but given there's something about being a black female in America, and not being a nepo baby, not being a traditional nepo baby, we'll say that. It hasn't humbled me, but it has like hardened me in ways that have like not really, they have not allowed me to live out my conservative values. And so over time those values change. Like I'm not gonna wish for like a white picket fence, a husband, and a family that just don't exist for me. And that's something that I really had to learn in like not in the hard way, but in a very real way. Like, and I feel like I will make more videos that kind of unpack this topic. But there's the girls who are on the internet, and just think about this, guys. There are girls who are coming online today because it's like popular to make all of these relationship channels. These girls are not like just pearly things. That's one girl I can think of, but you see them all over now. There are these girls who are talking about like what's wrong with women today. Here's the problem with these women. They're rationalizing all type of shit, almost like they've known the whole time things that other women didn't know. And I'm just here to bring some like rationality to this, because like especially like I don't think many people, especially if you're a black woman, like this is for you to like understand. The shit that's going on in the black community in America is so toxic and so bad that all over the world it is being used as almost like a lesson how not to live. Like niggers and nigger culture is so toxic and so bad that like from the rap songs to the music videos, it is literally like the devil's Bible. Not even in a joking way. I just wish that some of you could like be occupy certain spaces that like either in the past I've occupied or that just are kind of normal. And like, man, like it's mostly been black men, right? We're just now getting, female rappers. I mean, there's Little Kim, but like even then, it's like she's a woman. At least she said something, just for her to get on the mic at that point in time and say really anything, even if it was just all about sex, like okay, but like, man, and the really awful part about it is like how many actual lives were lost. Like rap music has not it's not this like thing of like in the past is killing people. Like every day, I don't know what the stats are, but like it's like 10 or 15 like black adult men, and we can't even really say adults because there's a lot of kids too. The adult term in this case is spanning from like 16 to like 65. Like most black men in America do not live past, I think it's like 55. Like that's typically like when they die somewhere between them. But I think the lifespan is even going down. It's going like further and further down. If you're a black woman, this doesn't really have much to do with you, unless I guess if you have like a black male child, maybe like that might have something to do with you. But it's really the representation, you know, like a lot of black, it's not all black men. I don't want to be out there saying it again, but many have just chosen to like represent themselves in like violence and retaliation, anger, malice, ego, just all of these things that are just like killing them off, and everyone else has just been watching and learning. Like every time, that's why you have all these like these people who have the family channels, like my dad reacting to a Nas album, you know, my grandpa listening to insert whoever black rapper for the first time, things like that, because like that's why they had to have that explicit label on all the rap albums for so long, where literally people in mainstream society, which is just like basically white society, don't listen to that music. Like it's not acceptable to like listen to the music, or it is now, but like it definitely wasn't, because it promotes counterculture. And in a lot of communities that music is still banned, to be clear. Anyway, so where was I going with this? Oh, I saw a post today that okay, so there's some prime minister, it might be like the prime minister of New Zealand, but he said that like there should be more abortions in Africa. And I saw one of the African YouTubers got on and she responded to this and called it racist. But I want to talk about it for a moment, because that particular issue has a lot to do with poverty. Now, here's the thing. You should know by now what the traditional family is. It's just like man, woman, married, with home and children. If you simply have that and nobody knows anything else, you can really anywhere in the world probably build a life for yourself, right? Like the man can go out and find a job, the woman can raise the children, or you can do some combination of both people working, right? Now, here's the weird thing about America. The whole society was set up to function like that. American society was set up to function like that. Now, the reason that people keep talking about social class is because depending on virtually how much money the man makes, like that's going to dictate the type of lifestyle that that family is living. How much college can they afford? How much private preschool can they afford? Like how many ballet lessons, or if any, can they afford? All of that is based on like the amount of money that's coming into the household. Like none of that extracurricular activities aren't free. If you don't have a job, you can't like afford to go. And most people who don't have jobs also don't have much education or experience. Like they've never had those experiences themselves. So of course they don't know that they should provide those things for their children because they've never had it. It's almost like if you don't realize the cost of a meal, you might not realize that filet mignon or like, you know, a ribeye or something is actually expensive meat, and you might think that like a chicken nugget is like the same because it's all under the category of meat, right? But a chicken nugget is like 99 cents. You might get a ribeye for like $199, maybe even more than that if we're talking Wagyu beef. Not the point. There's two things that I think here. First of all, and I really wonder this, like when is Africa going to like African leaders specifically come together to stand the fuck up and be like, Africa is the place for black people? I think that, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, I think that like all of the Egyptians who are in Africa who are like claiming all these things about how they're not black, and like they should just separate Egypt, put Egypt in Europe, okay, so that they can go be with the other white people and have their white land. Like they might actually want that. I don't actually know what they want. I don't know what their goal is. But like Africa is the continent for black people, and I'm not saying that in some type of joking way. Just like Europe is the continent for white people, America is the multicultural experiment, and Asia is the continent for Asian people. Latin America is the continent for they're kind of Native Americans, but we'll just call them like Latinx, Hispanic people, okay? Race is a thing, and the world has been divided into racial groups. You can believe it, you cannot believe it, it's the truth. So the point of that prime minister talking about basically more abortions in Africa, some of it, like, I don't know if enough people understand the kind of land grab that Africa is right now. Like, many African nations, like definitely like Nigeria, Kenya, places like Ethiopia, Eritrea, all of like East Africa, like West Africa, those places are black. Like South Africa is pretty much like the only place where there's like kind of like a significant number of like white people who like live there and like own land and things. But I don't really see that lasting. I just feel like there, like, apartheid was like pretty fucking awful. And I do feel like many Africans one day, South Africans specifically, will stand up and reclaim their land because what happened was awful and they deserve to basically have like reparations for that in many ways. Yeah, there's a lot happening there. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, but I don't actually know if I would personally consider what this minister said as racist, because I do think that more women should have access to not just abortions, but really like reproductive health, right? Like healthcare in Africa is a real fucking problem. Like, there are just so many, like, poor people do not have access to healthcare, which this is why, like, there's all this stigma around shit that, like, in America people are doing the same shit. Like, we're living very similar lives, like the decisions that people are making, how people are moving, like all that stuff is similar. But people in America have clinics, okay, and we have like healthcare and primary care doctors. In Africa they don't. They just don't. They don't. That's how it is. So that is gonna, like, let's say if you get an STD or an STI or something, how would you treat it if you don't have a clinic? Also, like, if women are like, and it's not if, when women are like raped, like, what are they gonna do? They just like cry under a tree. They can't. Is there any therapy? Are there any, like, what, they have to have the baby because there's like literally no abortion access. Also, if they have a husband, the husband basically just gets to choose, like, oh, I want you to have 27 kids. And then what is the woman going to do? She doesn't really have a choice here. She doesn't have an education, and she honestly doesn't know that she can't do that. Okay. And so this is why so many African men, they just feel so powerful, because they're like the head of the household only because of like a power dynamic, as in like they are stronger and bigger. They can rape and take, and so that's why they can just do whatever they want. That's why there's a shit ton of people in Africa, because like they want Africa to be black, and it is black. It is. Actually, it's so, but there's a whole other conversation around poverty. Like, poverty is a real fucking conversation. Poor people having 20 children is just not helpful. Like, you actually need money to like pay for shit, okay? Like, everyone, I know like Africa is very fruitful and there's a lot of land, but there's also a lot of people who are like, there's climate change, like what's happening in Sudan. People are living in the fucking desert, like, literally. That's not a joke. Like, they don't have anywhere to go. And there's like mafia and gangs and shit who are like taking land, and the government can't seem to stop them. They're like killing people, and people are having to flee their villages. That's like really bad. When you're like, when African people are killing other African people who don't have any sort of like political reason to like, the people of Sudan want to live in Sudan. They just don't want to be killed by the fucking like what is it? The gangsters in Sudan who are like stealing shit and taking land. That is the issue. It's just like this everywhere. I don't know. I don't feel like America is not the solution to that. Um, I don't really know. I feel like the governments in these countries, in these African countries, are going to have to stand the fuck up and like literally like make it right. Literally, they're going to have to say like, we don't accept this behavior. We need to create policies, but also like, Africa, all of the countries in Africa have to really sit the fuck down and come up with an economic plan of how its citizens are going to earn money, and really either export goods to each other where you could just trade in your own currency, or to the rest of the world. But you can't continue to let like American, Chinese, European colonialists really like exert power via like exporting resources and stealing land. Like that has to stop, and it has to stop now. And maybe that has to do with like more Africans having like confidence, but I don't even think it's that. Like I don't actually know what it is. And for me, I've just been so like I grew up in America. I didn't even learn really about like African culture and world history till way like basically until recently, right? Like when I made that video about other African YouTubers who are making content, like I've learned quite a lot about what's happening there just from listening to them. Like journalists make a fucking difference. Literally. Like journalists save lives in a very real way. Having access to the news is important. Um I don't know, man. I don't know. Like all I can say is like if whatever type of African you are, if you are watching this channel, if you're a black woman, you know, figure out which country in Africa you belong to originally and then support that one, right? Like I mean, I can't care about the whole continent of Africa because I don't have enough time or resources to like think about everyone. That's how I have to make content about Habesha girls because that's like my group. And I want us to be successful. And us being successful doesn't really have anything to do with another group. I hope the other groups thrive too. I just can't do the work to let them thrive. Like they have to thrive independently of me, if that makes any sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense. I really don't know. I don't know. Hmm. Yeah. For right now, that's all I have to say about that.